What's the difference between the George Floyd situation and the Charlie Kirk situation? Let's talk about it. So if you're new here, welcome to Be a Free Thinker. My name is Andronique, and I like to invoke and provoke conversation, spark conversation, talk about things, get people thinking from a different perspective and not follow trends. So we remember George Floyd. He was unalived on the streets of Minnesota. He was a career criminal. He was on the ground saying he can't breathe. Meanwhile, he was hopped up on fentanyl, right? And the people went bananas. They were in the streets, they burnt down Minnesota, basically. And they were looting, and they took like small businesses out. They took Target stores out. Like, it was a whole big thing. They were blocking freeways. I mean, the protests went on and on for weeks. Statues were erected all over the country. He had like 5 funerals. And then we have what happened to Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk, you remember, the Christian conservative, was at a rally in Utah last week and was shot in the neck in front of hundreds of people, including his family. And the people were literally, right after it happened, all over social media and on campuses across the country, celebrating the fact that he was essentially murdered. And I want to have a conversation about why a career criminal be glorified, and the protests and the outrage was insane. And then this past weekend, there were no riots, there were no protests, nothing was set on fire. There were just rallies and prayer vigils all over the country. People were praying all over the country. But then there was a group of people that were celebrating his death. So I want to understand, when George Floyd was unalived on the streets of Minnesota and everybody was just up in arms about it, no one was praying about it. Everybody was just essentially blaming that police officer for taking his life when he was already hopped up on fentanyl when he was apprehended. I'm trying to understand the mindset of the two different groups of people. And I'm not talking about color of skin. I'm talking about how a career criminal could have the rallying and the support that he had, because essentially they were saying that this police officer took his life. What was the outcome, aside from him having like several funerals and statues erected all over the place? What was the, like, what the people that were protesting and the people that were upset, what did you get out of that? I'm trying to understand the two mindsets, because what happened to Charlie Kirk should never have happened. But I want to know why no one was burning down things. Like, all he did was go across the country to different campuses and give the future people, like the kids in college, like the future generations, the opportunity to debate with him. Remember when we used to have debate clubs? He gave them the opportunity to debate. He wanted to get them clear on what the truth of the situations were, as opposed to listening to the legacy media, which just pushes their own narrative. And if you go on his podcast or if you go on YouTube, you can watch dialogue that he had with campus students. So that's what he did for a living. George Floyd was a criminal. His last offense was he broke into some pregnant woman's house pretending to be like a utility worker and held a gun to her pregnant stomach with her child there while his homies robbed her house. That was the last thing he did before he was unalived. And when he was unalived on the streets, when he couldn't breathe because apparently the police officer had his knee on his throat, he had just come out of a store trying to pass a counterfeit $20 bill. People were praying over the weekend. There wasn't a protest in sight. Nothing caught fire. But when George Floyd was doing nothing for the country, he was doing nothing good. He was hopped up on fentanyl, causing havoc all over Minnesota. An unfortunate situation happened with that police officer, and you guys gave him 5 funerals, a gold casket, put statues up all over the place. And then here, Charlie Kirk was just like having healthy debates with people. Your freedom of speech wasn't taken away, but Charlie Kirk's freedom of speech was taken away because some guy, and I'm not going to talk about conspiracy theories, just whoever the guy that they said did it, didn't like what Charlie Kirk had to say, so he took his life for saying it. So that means whatever I'm saying right now, whatever anyone says that you don't like or that I don't like, we can just take their life away. Make that make sense. What is the objective to have the legacy media and the left and the Democrats and the liberals have one story that they're pushing? And it's like finger pointing, the left versus the right, and then the liberals, which the liberals are nothing but Democrats who don't want to say they're Democrats. What is the objective? Like, what was the celebration for Charlie Kirk's life being taken? And why was there so much support for George Floyd? Two human beings, one's a criminal, one's not. Protesting, you know what it's like? It's like people are using the protests and the sit-ins and the boycotts from the 60s. They're using that playbook now in 2025. And that playbook doesn't work here because there's protests all the time and nothing gets solved. There's no outcome. Remember Rosa Parks? She got kicked off the bus because she didn't want to go to the back of the bus. So all of the black people just boycotted the bus line, and everybody, all of them were walking to work, walking home, didn't matter how far they were walking, and brought the bus line to their knees. Remember? So it was a productive sit out, boycott. People get on the internet talking about they're boycotting Target, but they shop still at Target, but they get on the internet saying that they're boycotting. The boycotts and the sit-ins and the protests, they don't have the same impact that they had in the 60s. But the Democrats are still doing this kumbaya thing, arm in arm, linked, like Martin Luther King in the middle singing, "We shall overcome." Like, you're celebrating someone's life not being here? It doesn't matter if you liked him, if you liked what he said, if you didn't like what he said, if you've never heard of him before. It doesn't matter. Y'all saw the video because but not one protest. Nothing's on fire.